Imagine this. You're scrolling through Instagram at 11 p.m. in your Chicago apartment, watching your college friend post photos from their dream vacation in Bali, while you're eating leftover pizza and wondering why your life doesn't look like that. Sound familiar? Or maybe you're sitting in traffic in Los Angeles, frustrated that your promotion didn't come through, while mentally calculating how much longer it'll take to afford that house you've been wanting for 3 years. We live in a culture of endless wanting. We want the perfect job, the ideal relationship, the flawless body, the dream home, and we want it all to stay exactly as we envision it forever. Social media feeds us a constant stream of what we should want. Advertising tells us what we need to be happy, and our own minds create elaborate fantasies about how much better life would be if only we could get that one thing we're missing. But here's the brutal truth that most people never want to face. The more we want from the universe, the more miserable we become. Every desire creates a potential disappointment. Every expectation sets us up for frustration. Every time we demand that life conform to our wishes, we hand over our peace of mind to circumstances completely outside our control. Nearly 2,000 years ago, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius figured this out. He never called himself a philosopher, but his personal journal became one of the most powerful guides to human happiness ever written. While ruling the most powerful empire in the world, dealing with plagues, wars, and political chaos, he discovered something revolutionary. Instead of wanting things to happen as we wish, we're infinitely better off accepting the universe exactly as it unfolds. Marcus Aurelius wrote his thoughts to himself, never intending them to be published. But in those private reflections, he laid out a radical approach to life that could transform how you handle everything from difficult coworkers to relationship problems to your own insecurities. His core insight was simple but life-changing. Stop wanting, start accepting. This doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on your goals. It means understanding the difference between what you can control and what you can't, and focusing your energy where it actually makes a difference. It means developing what Marcus called a flexible attitude towards the outside world while being strict with ourselves. Most of us have it backward. We're flexible with ourselves, making excuses for our bad habits and emotional reactions, while being incredibly rigid about how we expect the world to treat us. We want friendly people around us. We want to achieve our dreams exactly as we've imagined them. We want to stay young forever, and we want to avoid any serious misfortune. When reality doesn't cooperate with these demands, we become what Marcus Aurelius called playthings of our environment, emotionally dependent on circumstances that change constantly, whether we like it or not. But what if there was a different way? What if instead of fighting reality, you could learn to work with it? What if, instead of being disappointed when people don't act the way you want them to, you could find peace regardless of their behavior? The ancient Stoics discovered that this kind of acceptance isn't just possible. It's the key to genuine freedom and happiness. Over the next few sections, we're going to explore 5 specific areas where learning to accept rather than demand can completely transform your daily experience. We'll start with the people in your life who drive you absolutely crazy, because let's be honest, that's probably what brought you here in the first place. 1. When difficult people drive you crazy, what Marcus Aurelius would do. Sarah works at a marketing firm in Manhattan, and her coworker Jake makes every day feel like a personal attack. He takes credit for her ideas in meetings, makes sarcastic comments about her presentations, and last week, he actually made a joke about her outfit in front of the entire team. Sarah goes home every night replaying these interactions, planning what she should have said. fantasizing about telling him off, and losing sleep over someone who probably doesn't think about her at all. If you've ever had a Jake in your life, you know exactly how Sarah feels. Maybe it's a passive-aggressive family member who makes every holiday gathering uncomfortable, a neighbor who plays music too loud, or a boss who seems to enjoy making unreasonable demands. These people have a special talent for getting under our skin and staying there, rent-free, in our minds long after the actual interaction is over. Here's what most people do in these situations. They get angry, they plot revenge, they complain to anyone who will listen, they try to change the difficult person's behavior, or they avoid them entirely. But Marcus Aurelius, who dealt with senators trying to undermine him, generals questioning his decisions, and citizens complaining about his policies, had a radically different approach. When someone threw an insult at Marcus Aurelius, he didn't get angry. He didn't plot revenge. He didn't even take it personally. Instead, he reminded himself of something profound. Add nothing of your own from within, and that's an end of it. Think about what this means. When Jake makes a sarcastic comment about Sarah's presentation, the comment itself is just words in the air. It has no power to hurt her unless she gives it that power by adding her own emotional reaction to it. The insult, the criticism, the rude behavior, none of these things come with built-in emotional damage. They're just events that happen. Sarah's anger, her hurt feelings, her sleepless nights, these are all additions she's making from within her own mind. The comment can't make her angry. Only her reaction to the comment can do that. This might sound like philosophical nonsense until you really think about it. Have you ever noticed how the same comment that devastates you on a bad day might roll right off your back when you're in a good mood? The words are identical, but your internal response is completely different. That's proof that your emotional reaction isn't caused by the external event. It's caused by what you add to the event from within. Marcus Aurelius understood something else crucial about difficult people. They're not actually trying to ruin your day. They're just being human. He wrote about this constantly, reminding himself that people are arrogant, ungrateful, deceitful, and unsocial not because they're evil, but because that's part of human nature. Some people are kind and helpful, others are selfish and cruel, and most fall somewhere in between. This isn't a personal attack on you, it's just the reality of sharing a planet with other humans. Think about Jake for a moment. He's probably not waking up every morning thinking, how can I make Sarah's life miserable today? He's likely insecure about his own performance, worried about his job security, or dealing with problems in his personal life that have nothing to do with Sarah. His behavior is a reflection of his own internal state, not a calculated assault on her well-being. This doesn't excuse his behavior, but it does explain it. And understanding the explanation can free you from taking it personally. When someone cuts you off in traffic in downtown Chicago, they're not making a statement about your worth as a human being. They're just in a hurry, distracted, or having a bad day. When your mother-in-law makes a passive-aggressive comment about your housekeeping, she's not launching a personal attack. She's expressing her own anxiety, control issues, or outdated expectations. Marcus Aurelius took this insight even further. He realized that we're all here to cooperate with each other, not to act against each other. This cooperation is part of our nature as social beings. When people behave badly, they're actually acting contrary to their own nature, which means they're already punishing themselves. Your anger doesn't need to be added to the equation. But here's the part that really changes everything. Trying to change difficult people is a complete waste of your energy. Marcus Aurelius was clear about this. Don't waste the rest of your time here worrying about other people, unless it affects the common good. It will keep you from doing anything useful. You'll be too preoccupied with what so-and-so is doing and why and what they're saying and what they're thinking and what they're up to, and all the other things that throw you off and keep you from focusing on your own mind. Read that again. How much of your mental energy do you spend analyzing other people's behavior, trying to figure out their motivations, planning how to change them, or simply being upset about their actions? If you're like most people, it's probably hours every day. Hours that could be spent on your own goals, your own growth, your own happiness. Sarah could spend her entire career trying to make Jake behave better, and she'd probably fail while making herself miserable in the process. Or she could accept that Jake is going to be Jake, focus on her own work and reactions, and find peace regardless of his behavior. The choice is entirely hers, and it's entirely within her control. This doesn't mean becoming a doormat. You can still set boundaries, address inappropriate behavior when necessary, and remove yourself from toxic situations when possible. But you do these things from a place of calm decision-making rather than emotional reaction. You handle the practical aspects of dealing with difficult people without letting them control your inner state. The next time someone drives you crazy, remember Marcus Aurelius's approach. Don't add anything of your own from within. Let their behavior be their problem, not yours. Focus on what you can control, which is your own response, and let go of what you can't control, which is their personality, their choices, and their treatment of you. This leads us to an even deeper truth about acceptance. It's not just difficult people who are temporary and beyond our control. Everything we want and everyone we love will eventually disappear from our lives. And surprisingly, understanding this fact might be the key to appreciating what we have right now. 2. Why everything you want will disappear, and why that's actually good. Michael is a successful tech entrepreneur in San Francisco who built his startup from nothing into a multi-million-dollar company. He has the penthouse apartment, the Tesla, the beautiful girlfriend, and the respect of everyone in Silicon Valley. But lately, he's been waking up at 3 a.m. with a knot in his stomach, thinking about how quickly it could all disappear. What if the market crashes? What if his girlfriend leaves him for someone younger? What if his health fails? What if his company gets crushed by a competitor? Michael's anxiety isn't irrational. Everything he values really will disappear eventually. His company will either fail or be sold. His relationship will end in breakup or death. His youth and health are already fading. His reputation will be forgotten. Even his life will end, probably sooner than he expects. This sounds terrifying, but Marcus Aurelius would tell Michael that recognizing these truths is actually the path to peace, not panic. The Roman emperor understood something that most of us spend our lives trying to avoid. Absolutely everything is temporary. He wrote constantly about this reality, not to depress himself, but to free himself from the exhausting effort of trying to make permanent things that are inherently impermanent. Marcus Aurelius compared human generations to leaves on trees. In spring, new leaves grow fresh and green, full of life and potential. They seem so vital, so permanent, so important. But then autumn comes, and the wind blows them away, and the forest replaces them with new ones. Like the coming and ceasing of leaves, he wrote. So come and cease the generations of men. Think about the great emperors and philosophers that Marcus Aurelius knew personally. These were the most powerful, influential, brilliant people of their time. They commanded armies, ruled nations, and created ideas that shaped civilizations. Where are they now? Dust and ashes. Their bodies have returned to the earth. Their empires have crumbled, and most of their names are forgotten by everyone except history students. This isn't meant to be depressing. It's meant to be liberating. If the greatest achievements in human history are temporary, why are you torturing yourself trying to make your smaller achievements permanent? If the most powerful people who ever lived couldn't escape the reality of transience, why are you exhausting yourself fighting against it? Marcus Aurelius put this in perspective with one of his most powerful observations. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already or is impossible to see. The span we live is small as the corner of the earth in which we live it. Small as even the greatest renown, passed from mouth to mouth by short-lived stick figures, ignorant alike of themselves and those long dead. Let that sink in. Your entire life, from birth to death, is a brief instant in cosmic time. The Earth itself is just a tiny point in space, and most of it is uninhabited. Even if you become the most famous person who ever lived, your reputation will eventually fade into the abyss of endless time that swallows it all. This might sound nihilistic, but Marcus Aurelius saw it as the opposite. When you truly understand how brief and small your life is, you stop wasting energy on things that don't matter. You stop lying awake worrying about what people think of you, because you realize that the people whose opinions you're worried about are also temporary and will soon be forgotten. You stop clinging desperately to achievements and possessions because you understand that letting go is inevitable anyway. Michael's 3 a.m. anxiety attacks are coming from his attempt to make permanent something that was always meant to be temporary. His success, his relationship, his youth, his life itself. He's like someone trying to hold water in his hands and getting frustrated when it flows through his fingers. The water isn't defying him. It's just doing what water does. But here's where this gets interesting. Accepting transience doesn't mean giving up on life. It means appreciating what you have while you have it, instead of ruining the present moment by worrying about losing it in the future. When you know that your time with someone is limited, you pay more attention to them. When you know that your health won't last forever, you're more grateful for feeling good today. When you know that your success could disappear tomorrow, you enjoy it more fully right now. Marcus Aurelius discovered that the temporary nature of everything is actually what makes life precious. A sunset is beautiful partly because it doesn't last forever. A song moves you partly because it ends. A moment of happiness with someone you love is meaningful partly because you know there won't be infinite moments like it. The emperor also realized that understanding transience creates urgency about what really matters. If you have a limited amount of time here, what do you want to do with it? If your relationships won't last forever, how do you want to spend the time you have with people you care about? If your opportunity to make a difference is brief, what kind of difference do you want to make? This is why Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Whatever we want to do, now is the moment. Not next year when you have more money. Not next month when you're less busy. Not tomorrow when you feel more ready. Now. Because now is all you actually have. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. And this moment is slipping away even as you experience it." Michael's anxiety would disappear if he could shift from trying to preserve his success to appreciating it while it lasts. Instead of lying awake worrying about losing his girlfriend, he could focus on enjoying her company today. Instead of fearing the failure of his business, he could take satisfaction in what he's already accomplished and continue working toward his goals without attachment to specific outcomes. This doesn't mean becoming careless or irresponsible. You can still plan for the future, work hard, and try to build something lasting. But you do it from a place of engagement rather than desperation, creativity rather than fear, appreciation rather than clinging. The ancient Stoics understood that everything in the universe follows the same pattern: birth, growth, decay, death, and renewal. Fighting this pattern is like fighting gravity or trying to stop the earth from rotating. It's not just futile, it's exhausting. Accepting the pattern allows you to work with the natural flow of life instead of against it. When you stop demanding that good things last forever, you can actually enjoy them more fully while they're here. When you stop being shocked that bad things happen, you can handle them more skillfully when they do. This acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's active wisdom that allows you to respond to life's changes with grace instead of panic. But accepting that everything will disappear is just the beginning. The next challenge is learning to accept that some of those changes will be genuinely difficult and painful. Most of us spend enormous amounts of energy trying to prevent bad things from happening. But what if that energy could be better used preparing ourselves to handle adversity with strength and wisdom? 3. How to stop fearing bad things that haven't happened yet. Jessica lies in bed every night in her Denver apartment, her mind racing through an endless catalog of potential disasters. What if she gets laid off from her marketing job? What if her boyfriend decides he wants to move back to his hometown? What if her mom's cough turns out to be something serious? What if the economy crashes and she loses her savings? What if? She's exhausted from fighting battles that exist only in her imagination, suffering through tragedies that haven't happened and may never happen. If you recognize yourself in Jessica's midnight worry sessions, you're not alone. Most of us spend an incredible amount of mental energy trying to prevent, prepare for, or simply worry about bad things that might occur in the future. We lie awake, catastrophizing about job security, relationships ending, health problems, financial ruin, and 1,000 other potential misfortunes. We're essentially living through these disasters multiple times. Once in our imagination and then again if they actually happen. Marcus Aurelius had a completely different approach to future misfortune, and it's one of the most liberating insights in all of Stoic philosophy. Instead of trying to prevent bad things from happening, he focused on building the internal strength to handle them gracefully when they did occur. Instead of praying for a life free of adversity, he prayed for the wisdom and courage to meet adversity with dignity. The emperor understood a fundamental truth that most people never grasp. Adversity is not an exception to life, it's a feature of life. No one escapes the darker sides of existence. Everyone will face loss, disappointment, illness, financial struggles, relationship problems, and ultimately death. Fighting against this reality is like being angry at the ocean for having waves or upset at winter for being cold. Marcus Aurelius wrote about this insight in one of his most practical passages. Start praying like this and you'll see. Not some way to sleep with her, but a way to stop wanting to. Not some way to get rid of him, but a way to stop trying. Not some way to save my child, but a way to lose your fear. Redirect your prayers like that, and watch what happens. This is revolutionary thinking. Instead of praying for external circumstances to change in your favor, pray for internal strength to handle whatever circumstances arise. Instead of asking the universe to spare you from difficulty, ask for the character to face difficulty with grace. Instead of demanding that life be easy, develop the resilience to thrive even when life is hard. Let's apply this to Jessica's specific worries. She's afraid of getting laid off, so she spends hours every week researching job security, networking frantically, and lying awake wondering if her performance is good enough. But what if she redirected that energy toward building skills that would make her valuable in any job market? What if she focused on creating an emergency fund that would give her confidence to handle unemployment? What if she developed the inner strength to know that her worth isn't determined by her employment status? She's terrified that her boyfriend might leave, so she analyzes every text message, worries about every disagreement, and tries to be the perfect girlfriend to prevent abandonment. But what if she focused instead on becoming the kind of person who could handle a breakup with dignity? What if she built a life so fulfilling that while she'd be sad to lose the relationship, she wouldn't be devastated? What if she developed enough self-respect to know that she deserves someone who wants to be with her freely, not someone she has to manipulate into staying? This shift from external control to internal strength is what Marcus Aurelius called the dichotomy of control. Some things are in your control and others aren't. Focusing on what you can't control makes you anxious, desperate, and ultimately powerless. Focusing on what you can control makes you calm, confident, and genuinely effective. You can't control whether your company decides to downsize, but you can control how well you perform your job and how prepared you are for career transitions. You can't control whether your partner stays committed to the relationship, but you can control how you show up in the relationship and how you handle conflicts. You can't control whether you get sick, but you can control how you take care of your health and how you respond to illness if it comes. Marcus Aurelius understood that when you let your happiness depend on external circumstances, you become what he called a slave or beggar to forces beyond your control. Every potential threat becomes a source of anxiety because your well-being is hostage to events you can't influence. But when you build your happiness on internal factors like your character, your responses, your values, and your choices, you become genuinely free. This doesn't mean bad things won't happen to you. They will. But it means that when they do happen, you'll be ready. You'll have the emotional tools to process the experience without being destroyed by it. You'll have the practical skills to handle the challenges that arise. You'll have the philosophical framework to find meaning even in difficult circumstances. Jessica's worry about her mother's cough is a perfect example of how this works. She can't control whether her mother has a serious illness, but she can control how she responds to that possibility. She can make sure she's spending quality time with her mother now, while she's healthy. She can have honest conversations about her mother's wishes for medical care. She can build the emotional resilience to support her family through a health crisis if one occurs. She can appreciate her mother's current good health instead of ruining the present moment by worrying about future illness. The Stoics believed that everything that happens to you is part of a larger cosmic plan. Whether you call it fate, divine providence, or simply the natural unfolding of cause and effect, they saw adversity not as punishment but as opportunity. Every challenge is a chance to practice virtue, build character, and demonstrate what you're made of. This perspective transforms how you think about potential misfortune. Instead of seeing job loss as a catastrophe, you can see it as an opportunity to discover new career paths, develop resilience, and find out what you're truly capable of. Instead of seeing relationship problems as threats to your happiness, you can see them as chances to practice communication, develop emotional maturity, and learn what you really want in a partner. Marcus Aurelius wrote that if you accept misfortune, even the gods cannot harm you, no matter what they put on the table. This isn't because bad things won't happen, but because you'll have developed the inner strength to handle whatever comes without losing your peace of mind, your sense of purpose, or your fundamental well-being. The next time you find yourself lying awake worrying about things that haven't happened yet, remember Jessica's choice. She can continue exhausting herself with imaginary battles, or she can redirect that energy toward building real strength for real challenges. She can keep trying to control the uncontrollable, or she can focus on developing the internal resources that will serve her regardless of what external circumstances arise. But there's another layer to this acceptance that many people find even more challenging than accepting potential misfortune. It's learning to accept the constant changes that are happening right now all around you, whether you like them or not. Fighting change might be the most exhausting battle of all, and it's one that nobody ever wins. For why fighting change makes you miserable, the ancient solution. David has worked at the same accounting firm in Atlanta for 15 years. He knows every procedure, every client, every shortcut that makes his job manageable. But last month, the company announced they're switching to a completely new software system, restructuring the departments, and bringing in a younger management team with fresh ideas. David is furious. He spent years perfecting his workflow, building relationships with long-term clients, and establishing his reputation. Now everything is changing, and he feels like he's starting over at age 45. David's story plays out in offices, homes, and communities across America every single day. The restaurant you've been going to for years changes its menu. Your neighborhood gets gentrified and loses its character. Your adult children move to different cities. Technology makes your skills obsolete. Your body starts showing signs of aging. Change is everywhere, and most of us hate it. We spend enormous amounts of energy trying to keep things the same. We resist new procedures at work, complain about changes in our community, and feel anxious when our routines get disrupted. We want our relationships to stay in their honeymoon phase, our bodies to remain young and healthy, and our comfortable circumstances to last forever. But Marcus Aurelius understood something that could save David and millions of people like him from years of unnecessary suffering. Fighting change is like fighting the fundamental nature of reality itself. The Roman emperor wrote one of the most profound statements about change ever recorded. The world is nothing but change. Not the world contains change or change is part of the world. The world is change. Everything you see around you, everything you are, everything you've ever experienced is the result of constant transformation. Without change, nothing would exist at all. Think about your own body. Right now, as you're reading this, millions of your cells are dying and being replaced by new ones. Your heart is beating differently than it was a minute ago. Your thoughts are shifting and evolving. If all this change suddenly stopped, you wouldn't stay the same, you'd be dead. The same principle applies to everything around you. Change isn't something that happens to the world. Change is what the world is made of. Marcus Aurelius compared this constant transformation to the way your body maintains itself. Your body is constantly replacing old parts with new ones, which might seem unfortunate for the individual cells that get discarded, but it's essential for the health of the whole organism. In the same way, The universe is constantly replacing old elements with new ones, not because it's cruel or random, but because this process of renewal is necessary for the good health of the world. When David fights against the changes at his company, he's essentially fighting against the natural process that keeps organizations healthy and competitive. The new software system might be inconvenient for him personally, but it's probably necessary for the company to serve its clients better and stay relevant in a changing market. The younger management team might disrupt his comfortable routines, but they might also bring fresh perspectives that help the company grow and thrive. Marcus Aurelius used a beautiful metaphor to illustrate this point. He said that trying to maintain the status quo is like grasping water and expecting it never to flow out of your hands. You can squeeze as tightly as you want, but the water will still slip through your fingers. The water isn't defying you or trying to make you unhappy. It's just doing what water naturally does. The emperor took this insight even further with another powerful image. We find ourselves in a river. Which of the things around us should we value when none of them can offer a firm foothold? Like an attachment to a sparrow, we glimpse it and it's gone. You're not standing on solid ground trying to hold onto things that might change. You're already in the middle of a flowing river, and everything around you is moving whether you like it or not. David's mistake is thinking that his 15 years of experience have given him solid ground to stand on. But the accounting industry has been changing the entire time he's worked in it. The clients he serves today are different from the ones he served when he started. The regulations he follows have been updated dozens of times. He's been in the river of change all along. He just didn't notice it because the changes were gradual and he adapted to them naturally. Marcus Aurelius discovered that acceptance of change isn't just less stressful than resistance. It's actually more effective. When you stop fighting the current, you can learn to swim with it. When you stop trying to prevent change, you can start preparing for it and even benefiting from it. Some living creatures demonstrate this principle beautifully. A mayfly lives for only 24 hours, but it doesn't spend that time trying to extend its lifespan or lamenting how brief its existence is. It simply lives fully within its natural limits. A glass sponge can live for over 10,000 years, but it doesn't become attached to any particular moment or try to prevent the slow changes that occur over millennia. Human beings have the unique ability to understand change intellectually and choose how to respond to it emotionally. We can recognize that change is inevitable and decide to work with it rather than against it. We can see that fighting change wastes energy that could be used for adaptation and growth. For David, this might mean approaching the new software system as a chance to update his skills and make himself more valuable in the job market. The management restructuring could be an opportunity to take on new responsibilities or move into a different role that better matches his experience. The changes that feel threatening could actually be the catalyst for positive developments in his career. When you accept that change is not only inevitable but actually necessary for growth, renewal, and progress, you can stop wasting energy on resistance and start investing it in adaptation. You can stop being surprised when things don't stay the same and start being curious about what new possibilities might emerge. But perhaps the most challenging aspect of acceptance isn't dealing with external changes like David's work situation. The hardest thing for many people to accept is the reality of their own nature, their own limitations, and their own inevitable aging and mortality. 5. How to stop hating your body and limitations. Stoic self-acceptance. Maria stares at herself in the mirror of her Boston apartment every morning, cataloging everything she wishes she could change. At 38, she sees wrinkles that weren't there 5 years ago, gray hairs she plucks obsessively, and a body that doesn't look like the fitness influencers she follows on Instagram. She spent thousands of dollars on skincare products, gym memberships, and supplements, yet she still feels inadequate. Meanwhile, her coworker Tom seems effortlessly athletic and charismatic, landing promotions and dates with ease. Maria goes to bed each night feeling like she's losing a battle against her own genetics, her age, and her natural limitations. If Maria's morning mirror routine sounds familiar, you're experiencing one of the most common forms of modern suffering: the rejection of your own nature. We live in a culture that tells us we can become anything we want, look however we choose, and overcome any limitation through enough effort and willpower. Social media feeds us endless images of people who seem to have transcended normal human constraints. We're constantly comparing our real, flawed, aging bodies to carefully curated, filtered, and edited versions of other people's lives. Marcus Aurelius faced this same struggle, but he approached it from a radically different angle. Instead of fighting against his natural attributes and limitations, he encouraged himself to accept them as part of the cosmic order. He reminded himself to remember the nature of the world, his nature, how he relates to the world, and that he's part of nature and supposed to live in harmony with it. This doesn't mean giving up on self-improvement or becoming complacent about your health and growth. It means understanding the difference between working with your nature and fighting against it. Some people have more athletic bodies. Others have greater intellects. Some are naturally charismatic. Others are naturally analytical. You can develop your strengths and improve your weaknesses to some extent, but you're ultimately working within the boundaries of your genetic inheritance, your life circumstances, and the natural process of aging. Maria's frustration comes from trying to become someone she's not instead of becoming the best version of who she is. She's comparing her real body to impossible standards and her natural personality to people who have completely different strengths. This is like a fish being upset that it can't fly or a bird being ashamed that it can't breathe underwater. Marcus Aurelius understood that humans have a unique feature that sets us apart from every other creature on Earth: our faculty of reason. Unlike any other sentient being, humans can think rationally, make conscious choices, and override their immediate impulses with logical decision-making. This rational faculty is your superpower, and it's available to you regardless of whether you're tall or short, young or old, naturally athletic or naturally bookish. The emperor wrote about how he used this rational faculty to accept the world around him. People find pleasure in different ways. I find it in keeping my mind clear, in not turning away from people or the things that happen to them, in accepting and welcoming everything I see, in treating each thing as it deserves. Notice that his pleasure didn't come from having a perfect body, unlimited wealth, or exceptional natural talents. It came from using his reason to respond wisely to whatever circumstances he encountered. This is the key insight that could transform Maria's relationship with herself. Instead of spending her mental energy wishing she had different genetics, she could use her rational faculty to appreciate what her body can do right now. Instead of comparing herself to people with different natural advantages, she could focus on developing her own unique strengths. Instead of fighting the natural process of aging, she could find meaning in the wisdom and experience that come with maturity. Your rational faculty enables you to see beyond the immediate frustration of physical limitations and recognize the bigger picture. Maria's body has carried her through 38 years of life, adapted to countless challenges, and continues to function remarkably well considering the complexity of human biology. Her mind has accumulated knowledge, skills, and insights that weren't available to her younger self. Her character has been shaped by experiences that have made her more compassionate, resilient, and wise. Marcus Aurelius regularly reminded himself of these broader perspectives. He didn't pretend that aging and physical decline weren't real, but he refused to let them define his sense of worth or happiness. He accepted the limits placed on his body and found contentment within those boundaries instead of constantly fighting against them. This acceptance becomes easier when you understand that your limitations aren't personal failures or cosmic injustices. They're simply part of the human condition. Everyone ages, everyone has physical constraints, and everyone has areas where they're less naturally gifted than others. The person you're envying for their athletic ability might be struggling with social anxiety. The colleague who seems effortlessly successful might be dealing with health problems you can't see. The Stoic approach to self-acceptance doesn't mean lowering your standards or abandoning your goals. It means pursuing improvement from a place of self-respect rather than self-hatred. When Maria exercises, she can do it because she values her health and wants to feel strong, not because she's trying to punish her body into submission. When she takes care of her appearance, she can do it as an act of self-care, not as a desperate attempt to become someone else. Your rational faculty also allows you to recognize that much of your suffering comes not from your actual limitations, but from your thoughts about those limitations. Maria's wrinkles don't cause her pain. Her belief that wrinkles make her less valuable causes her pain. Tom's natural charisma doesn't hurt her. Her comparison between his gifts and hers hurts her. Marcus Aurelius wrote that humans can choose to bypass our animalistic urges and follow a wiser path. Instead of blindly following desires for impossible perfection, you can use reason to identify what's actually important for your well-being and happiness. Instead of being enslaved by society's beauty standards or success metrics, you can consciously choose values that align with your authentic nature and circumstances. This rational approach to self-acceptance creates a foundation for genuine confidence and peace. When your self-worth isn't dependent on having perfect genetics or stopping the aging process, you become free to focus on what you can actually control: your character, your choices, your responses to challenges, and your treatment of other people. The next time you find yourself in Maria's position, staring in the mirror and cataloging your perceived flaws, remember that you have access to the same rational faculty that helped Marcus Aurelius find contentment despite the pressures of ruling an empire. You can choose to see your body as a temporary vessel that's doing its best to serve you, your limitations as natural boundaries that give shape to your unique path, and your aging as evidence that you're participating in the same cosmic process that governs all life. Your new life of acceptance, the Stoic transformation. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning with a completely different relationship to your life. Instead of immediately checking your phone to see what problems await you, you take a deep breath and remember that whatever happens today, you have the tools to handle it with grace. Instead of getting frustrated when your coworker makes a sarcastic comment, you smile slightly and think, "There goes Jake being Jake again," without adding any emotional drama to the situation. When you get the news that your company is restructuring, instead of panicking about change, you feel curious about what new opportunities might emerge. When you look in the mirror, instead of cataloging your flaws, you appreciate this body that's carried you through decades of experiences. When you think about the future, instead of worrying about all the things that might go wrong, You focus on building the character and skills that will serve you regardless of what circumstances arise. This isn't fantasy. This is what becomes possible when you truly embrace Marcus Aurelius's philosophy of acceptance. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the author of your responses. You stop wasting energy fighting reality and start using that energy to create meaning, build relationships, and contribute something valuable to the world. The 5 areas of acceptance we've explored today: dealing with difficult people, embracing transience, preparing for misfortune, flowing with change, and accepting your nature aren't separate skills. They're all expressions of the same fundamental shift. From demanding that the universe conform to your preferences to finding peace and purpose within whatever reality presents. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't mean you'll never feel frustrated, sad, or disappointed again. You're human, and emotions are part of the human experience. But you'll find that these feelings pass through you more quickly and with less damage to your overall well-being. You'll discover that acceptance isn't passive resignation. It's active wisdom that allows you to respond to life's challenges with creativity, courage, and compassion. Marcus Aurelius practiced these principles while managing the pressures of ruling an empire, dealing with political enemies, and facing his own mortality. If these ideas could help him find peace in the midst of such enormous responsibilities, they can certainly help you find peace in your daily life. The question isn't whether you'll face difficult people, experience loss, encounter misfortune, witness change, or struggle with your limitations. You will. The question is whether you'll meet these inevitable experiences as a victim or as a philosopher. Whether you'll let them diminish you or strengthen you. Whether you'll use them as excuses for bitterness or as opportunities for growth. Your new life of acceptance starts right now, with the very next challenge you encounter. Remember, you have everything you need within you to handle whatever comes your way. You have the rational faculty that Marcus Aurelius wrote about, the ability to choose your responses, and the wisdom of 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy to guide you. If this video has helped you see your challenges differently, please subscribe to Stoic Vivu for more practical ancient wisdom for modern life. Like this video if it resonated with you, and share it with someone who might benefit from learning to stop wanting and start accepting. Your journey towards Stoic peace and freedom begins today.